What is happening? Is the sloth trying to feed me a eucalyptus leaf? How did this happen? Yeah, why is he sitting on her? Why is he sitting on me? Okay. How do I get it to go away? I don't understand why this keeps happening to me. I was just trying to make coffee. I didn't know that a sloth was going to be involved. If I eat it, will it go away? Oh, I did. Oh, wow. Look, the leaf went away when I ate it. Wait, can I have another one? I can. I ate the leaf. What is wrong with me? Oh my God. I have to stop this. This is outrageous. What is, he ate it? Oh, I thought I ate it. Oh, what a bummer. We're okay, how are you? Guys, there's a sloth. And I don't even know why. I was just trying to pin a book, and I got the sloth instead. Oh dear. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to pin the book. Donating the book. This is the new book. And we have a sloth. I don't know how to get it to go away. I'm so sorry, you guys. Somebody help me. Hey Susan, how are you? This is our sloth. You were looking for my book at your local library. Oh my gosh, I wish that your local library would have my book. Feel free to request it. We did finish, so real quick about my book. My book is approved for libraries, so if you request my book at your local library, they can get it, because I have it. I clicked the button on the publishing to like approve the library having it. And as far as the book goes, yes, we did finish book 4, and it is so loud. It's about to stop. Yeah, it finished. We finished book 4, and we read the prologue of book 5. Today we're going to read chapter 1 of book 5. Does anyone know how to get rid of this sloth? Does anyone know how to get rid of the sloth? Please. Anybody? I refuse to go live, so no. Oh, okay. Oh, it wasn't on purpose. I thought it was. No, it's just a sloth. I don't know how it got here. I guess it might cover her a little bit. Let's see, does it cover her? Oh yeah, a little bit. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Negative Ghost Rider. Wait, help me, Grayson. How did this happen to me? How do I get it off? How do I get it off? What's the button? Add wallpaper. No. Okay, hold on. Let's see. I'm trying to get rid of this. He's gone now. Is he gone? He's back. Oh dear. Okay. Is he gone? No. Darn it. Is there a filter option? Let's find out. Effects? Oh. Thank you. Okay, I think Grayson fixed it. Let's see. Okay, we did it. Wow. That was wild. I put the milk away. last night was very, very rough, Mary. Thought that was gonna be, yeah, she is getting so big. Last night was maybe the roughest it's ever been as far as sleep goes. We were up every single hour, which wasn't even the case when she was a newborn. So we are having a rough go of it as far as sleep goes. Be growing pains, yeah, I guess. Could be growing pains. TikTok and passive aggressive attempt to get people to comment. And I don't. Oh no, I didn't see it. What did it do? What did you see, Anya? I didn't see it. But why would it show it to me? Okay, you guys all saw it on your side. That makes sense. Okay, let me get the tripod. Put down my coffee. Here we go. I will take over early baby watching so you can sleep over there. That's very funny. Let's see if she lets you. Sometimes it's a mommy only situation. Even daddy in the middle of the night is sometimes a no. Automatic best we give her Tylenol before bed. Yeah, we when she's pulling at her ear and acting like she has growing or teething pains, we do give her pain meds. It said 29 comments sent in 5 minutes. Why not be you? That's funny. I have with all my kids, they're great sleepers. When they have babies, when they got bigger, the trouble starts. Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth. She was a great sleeper until about 4 months old. And then it went kaput. Kaput. Okay, so today we are reading chapter 1 of An Author's Odyssey, which is book 5 in our series. We just finished book 4 yesterday, and we read the prologue, which was very sweet. And now we're going to read chapter 1 of book 5. Here we go. Chapter 1 is called The Masked Empire. Probably not good. Guys in masks are generally not a good thing, so we'll see what happens. The air was filled with so much smoke that you could barely see the sky. Every time it was cleared by a strong wind, it was quickly replenished from another pillaged town or forest fire. During the day, the sun looked like a weak lantern shining through a brown sheet, and at night, seeing a star became as rare as spotting a shooting star. The fairy tale world had faced many troubles in recent times, but never anything like this. It was the first time in history that the happily ever after seemed impossible to regain. Over the course of one night, the Wicked Witch of the West's Winky army attacked the Charming Kingdom and the Troglan territory. Her flying monkeys were sent to terrorize the Elf Empire and the Corner Kingdom. The Queen of Hearts marched her card soldiers through the Center Kingdom and then wreaked havoc on the Eastern Kingdom. Captain Hook's band of pirates poisoned the waters of Mermaid Bay, sending the mermaids fleeing deeper into the ocean. Captain Hook's flying ship, the Jolly Roger, attacked the Fairy Kingdom, leaving the palace in pieces, and then the captain took the Northern Kingdom by storm. The soldiers and the villagers of every kingdom who had once band together to fight off the Grand Armée were no match for these invaders. Their homes and towns were pillaged and burned to the ground. Their farms and stables were raided. Their livestock and horses were stolen. All the fairies were presumed dead or in hiding. The kings and queens had lost their thrones, and their homes lay in ruin. The forests were slowly burned one at a time, giving the animals and refugees fewer and fewer places to hide. The kingdoms and the territories of yesterday ceased to exist. All the land in the fairy tale world had been combined into one large empire ruled by the infamous Masked Man and his newly assembled literary army. The elf, troll, goblin, and human civilizations from all over the fairy tale world were rounded up and marched into the Northern Kingdom. They were pushed into Swan Lake just beside the severely damaged Northern Palace. The lake had been dried out by the literary army, making it a deep and muddy crater, perfect to hold civilian prisoners. By the time the lake was filled, the sun had started its descent in the western sky. The literary soldiers pointed their captives' attention to a large balcony above the palace. The doors opened and the masked man appeared. His entire head was covered in a mask made of rubies and jewels, with only 2 slits for his eyes. His raggedy clothes had been upgraded to a well-tailored suit. He wore a long black cape with a collar that towered sinisterly over his head. The masked man finally looked like the menacing ruler that he had always wanted to become. His entrance was met with thunderous rumble of booing and hissing, which only escalated when the Queen of Hearts, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Captain Hook joined him on the balcony. The masked man held his hands out in front of him, embracing the noise as if it were applause. No, he said. Is that how you address your new emperor? The title was not well received by his imprisoned audience. Many of the civilians had stashed food in their clothing before being forced to flee from their homes, and rather than saving it, they threw it angrily at the masked man. The self-appointed emperor was pelted with tomatoes, plums, and heads of lettuce. The civilians roared with laughter. Even the Wicked Witch of the West cackled at the embarrassing scene. But the masked man wouldn't let his first moment as emperor become a mockery. Silence, or I'll kill you all, the masked man yelled. The food throwing stopped, and a tense hush fell over the dried-up lake. He had already destroyed their villages and their homes. There was no telling how far he would go to gain respect. A winged monkey brought the masked man a rag, and he wiped the food off of his clothing. From this day forward, you will no longer be people of your pathetic kingdoms, but property of this empire, he announced. Disrespect me again, and I will not show you the same mercy as your weak kings and fragile queens. Anyone who dares to cross me will not only lose their lives, but will first watch as I take families' lives as well. It sure does, Roxy. Children throughout the lake began to cry, and their parents held them tightly. It seemed the darkest days were still ahead. I brought you all here to witness the birth of a new era, the masked man preached. But before we achieve a new future, the way of the past must be destroyed, and the leaders of that past are no exception. The masked man gestured to a large wooden platform below the balcony, and on the lawn between the palace and the dried lake, a very tall man in a long black coat climbed to the top of the platform and placed a large wooden block on the center of it. A dozen flying monkeys pulled a wagon out from behind the palace. It carried the former kings and queens of the fairy tale world: Cinderella, King Chance, Sleeping Beauty, King Chase, Snow White, King Chandler, Trollbella, Empress Elvina, Rapunzel, Sir William, and even the young princesses Hope and Ash. All the royals had their hands tied together, and they were blindfolded and gagged with strips of white cloth. The tall man on the platform withdrew a silver axe from his cloak. The civilians began screaming and shouting in horror once they realized the purpose of this. The masked man was going to have the royal families executed. Although they could not see, the kings and queens knew what was happening by the sound of the terrified crowd. They fought against their restraints, but they didn't budge. The civilians desperately tried to climb out of the dried lake to save their rulers, but they were kicked back into the mud. The card soldiers stood around the lake's perimeter and locked arms, forming a wall to block them. Yes, he's sleeping on ya. The masked man laughed wildly at all the terror he was causing. The Winky soldiers pulled the royals out of the wagon and pushed them up the steps to the platform, and then stood guard around it. The cloaked executioner sharpened his axe as he awaited his cue to begin. Start with the men, and then the women, and then the children, the masked man ordered. Your Majesty, if you would please do the honors. The Queen of Hearts stepped to the edge of the balcony. With enlarged eyes and a devious grin, she looked down at the distressed royals like they were a delicious snack. Off with their heads, she roared, and the lake erupted in protest. Good morning, Ray. The women cried in desperate pleas for the execution to stop. The men yelled profanities at the masked man for being so cruel. The frightened royal families huddled together in the corner of the platform and trembled. The executioner selected King Chance to be his first kill. He grabbed him by the arm and dragged him to the block. Cinderella and Hope screamed through their gags when they realized he was no longer standing beside them. The executioner forced Chance into a kneeling position and placed his head on the wooden block. He held his axe above the king's neck and practiced swinging. With each swing, the civilians gasped, fearing that it was the fatal blow. But finally, the executioner raised his axe higher into the air, much higher than he raised it before. The pleas and screams from the helpless bystanders multiplied. The royals knew that it was only a matter of seconds before this king lost his head.
The executioner brought the axe down, but as he did, he spun his body so it sliced the platform floor instead of the king's neck. Suddenly, the floor caved, causing the executioner and all the royals to fall through the platform and disappear. It was so unexpected, the panicked crowd went silent. This could not have been part of the plan.
What just happened? The masked man screamed from the balcony. Get them out of there.
It was just as the Winky soldiers went into the platform that 3 large horses burst out from inside it. Porridge, Buckle, and Oates had been under the platform the entire time. They were pulling the carriage with the executioner and all the royals safely aboard. The platform had been a large trap door.
No,
the masked man screamed and leaned over the balcony as far as he could to get a better look. To his horror, he saw Goldilocks on Porridge and Jack on Buckle. The couple steered the horses and the carriage into the forest beyond the palace, knocking over dozens of Winky soldiers as they went. The execution had turned into a rescue mission right before the masked man's eyes. Goldilocks glanced back at the rescued royals. Is everyone all right? The royals moaned through their gags, still blindfolded. They had no clue what was going on. The executioner threw off his cloak. It had been the Tin Woodman all along.
Don't frighten your majesties, he said. This is a rescue.
The Tin Woodman sliced off the royals' restraints with his axe.
We're not out of it yet, Jack said. Everyone stay low. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
Meanwhile, the elf, troll, goblin, and human civilians embraced one another and cheered as their leaders got away. The masked man was so furious that he was practically breathing fire. The visible skin around his eyes turned so red that it matched the rubies in his mask.
After them, all of you, he ordered to the literary army. Don't you let them escape.
The rescue party was chased through the forest by droves of Winkies and card soldiers on horseback. The fleet of flying monkeys followed them from the smoky sky, and as the royals removed their blindfolds and looked around, an escape did not seem likely. There was no way that their carriage stood a chance against the approaching literary soldiers. Luckily, Jack and Goldilocks had friends with a few tricks up their sleeves. The Winkies and the card soldiers were gaining speed and moving closer to the carriage. Goldilocks nodded to Jack and he whistled. Suddenly, Sir Grant and Sir Lambton appeared with dozens of their men on horseback. They formed a protective circle around the carriage of the royals and knocked the approaching literary soldiers to the ground. Sir Lambton, is that you? Cinderella said.
Hello, your majesty, he said. I wish the circumstances were different, but I am very pleased to see you alive.
Sir Grant and Sir Lambton's men weren't alone. They shared their horses with the Lost Boys from Neverland, and when they were close enough, Toodles, Nibs, Curly, and the Lost Twins jumped off their horses and landed in the carriage with the royals. The Lost Boys pulled slingshots out of their pockets and launched rocks at the Winkies and the card soldiers, hitting them in the face and knocking them off their horses. This is fun, Toodles said. Let's make it a game, Curly said. 10 points for the big square ones and 5 for the gold guys, Nibs decided. Deal, the Lost Twins said. The boys giggled so hard watching the Winkies and the cards fall off their horses that tears streamed down their rosy faces. They hadn't had this much fun since they left Neverland. Thanks to the Lost Boys, Sir Grant, and Sir Lambton's men, the number of literary soldiers trailing the carriage had significantly lowered, but there were still plenty of Winkies and cards left to be concerned about. Luckily, the rescue plan was the rescue party was close to the next phase of their plan. As they raced farther into the forest, Goldilocks spotted an arrow sticking into the side of a tree. It was a sign. Jack, I see the arrow, she said. We're almost to the Merry Men. Porridge, Buckle, and Oates were starting to get tired and slow down, so Jack was relieved to hear it, and he whistled to the treetops as loudly as he could. Was that the whistle we've been waiting for, or do my ears deceive me? Shouted a boisterous voice from the trees, and Jack rolled his eyes and just whistled again. There it is again! Our time has come, merry men! Attack! Robin Hood and his men swung down from the treetops on ropes like monkeys on vines. Little John, Alan a Dale, and Will Scarlet slammed into the Winkies and cards. They knocked them to the ground and stole their horses. Robin Hood flipped through the air, landing on a carriage with the royals, and he took off his hat and bowed to the queens. Have no fear, ladies, for the true hero has arrived, he said, and he winked at them flirtatiously and kissed Rapunzel's hand, which Sir William did not appreciate. Gosh, I really hate that guy, Jack whispered to Goldilocks. Robin Hood reached for the bow and the quiver of arrows fastened to the back of his vest and joined the Lost Boys in shooting the Winkies and the cards off their horses. After hitting a few, the Prince of Thieves grew cocky and started showing off for the queens, striking a ridiculous pose as he fired. Don't be intimidated, Lost Boys, he said and rubbed Toodle's head. Battle is meant for men. Toodles snapped his slingshot against Robin Hood's butt and caused him to squeal like an injured swine. Toodles, save it for the enemy, Goldilocks reprimanded. Sorry, it slipped, Toodles said. And by now the Winkies and the card soldiers had been knocked to the ground or had retreated to the northern palace. However, the chase wasn't over yet. Piercing screeches echoed through the forest as the flying monkeys descended upon the rescue party. Jack whistled again. Hey, Peter, it's your turn, he yelled. And like a rocket, Peter flew out from underneath the carriage where he'd been hiding. It happened so fast that he startled the royal families. The boy who never grew up handed 2 bags of firecrackers to Little John and Alan Adale and matches to Will Scarlet. The merry men tossed the firecrackers to Will Scarlet and he lit them at once. Peter quickly scooped them up, and the boy flew above the treetops and threw the firecrackers into the approaching flying monkeys. Each explosion shocked and discombobulated the flying monkeys, and they fluttered to the ground. Peter and the merry men continued their firecracker relay until all the monkeys had been dropped from the sky. Take that, you overgrown bats, Peter chuckled, and Troll Bella watched Peter Pan in astonishment. Her heart was beating so fast as if it had wings, and she could join him in flight. Uh-oh. I was about to be beheaded, but I think I've gone to heaven, she said. He's just like Butterboy. He floats and he sparkles. I didn't know so wonderful of a boy could even exist. Stop it, Trollbella. Pull yourself together. You promised yourself you wouldn't love again until the world was in a better condition. Still, the Troblin Queen tried to catch the trails of fairy dust Peter left behind as he flew beside the carriage. Finally free from the masked man's literary army, the royals and their rescuers could all breathe a little easier. Goldilocks and Jack took the reins of their horses and steered them to a sharp left, leading the party straight into Dwarf Forest. Where are we going? Snow White asked. Someplace the masked man and his army will never find us, Goldilocks said. Now, everyone keep as quiet as possible, Jack instructed. The less noise we make, the better off we are. The royals obeyed his instructions, and the rescue party spent the rest of the day traveling deeper and deeper into the Dwarf Forest. The kings and queens glanced around nervously at the thick forest that most of them had never been in these parts before. They kept waiting for something frightening to appear, but the forest that infamously housed the most dangerous creatures and criminals in the fairy tale world seemed, well, rather empty. They reached a hilly part of the woods just before nightfall, and Goldilocks stopped the procession in front of a large boulder sticking into the hillside. She covered her mouth and made a peculiar shape with her hands. Cuckoo! Cuckoo! She called, and the bird call echoed through the forest. The party waited anxiously in silence, and a moment later a faint bird call from somewhere beyond the boulder came back. Cuckoo-ca! Cuckoo-ca! The boulder was slowly rolled away by 2 monstrous black bears, revealing a hidden tunnel in the hillside. The sight of the bears frightened the royals, and they held each other closely. Don't be scared. They're with us, Goldilocks whispered. If anyone has reservations about bears, it would be me, right? The carriage moved into the tunnel, and the men on horseback followed. Once the entire rescue party was inside, the bears rolled the boulder back so that the entrance was hidden again. The rescue party traveled down the tunnel for several hundred feet and entered a cavernous mine. The ground was covered in cart tracks that stretched into more tunnels going deeper into the hillside. Thousands of fireflies covered the stalactites above, illuminating the dark cave like an earthy chandelier. Dozens of sheets and quilts were draped over the stalagmites to make several tents. The royal families were very surprised to see that they were among hundreds of other refugees. Families of human, elves, trolls, and goblins were dispersed throughout the mine. There were also several groups of animals: foxes, wolves, badgers, bears, and birds of every kind. Even the animals were taking shelter during this terrible time, which explained why the forest felt so empty. There were a few familiar faces among the hideaways as well. Hagetta and Friar Tuck were cooking a meal together in a large cauldron. The traveling tradesman, that old geezer who sold Jack the magic beans and grew the infamous beanstalk, sat against a stalagmite so that he could count a collection of chicken feet that he kept in a small sack. Why? Queen Red Riding Hood was in the back of the mine, sitting alone quietly. Her granny and the little old woman from the shoe inn sat nearest to her, knitting quilts to make more tents. Slightly, the lost boy who had turned into a baby, thanks to a youth potion, was taking a nap in a bassinet beside the older women. Bluebow, the young flying monkey, was curled up in the bassinet beside him. Thanks to Granny's bad eyesight, she thought he was an extremely furry infant. Being the pets of a high-maintenance woman, Claudius and Lester had, of high-maintenance women, Claudius and Lester had become fast friends, and they were brought to the mine when they were brought to the mines. The animals also napped together, taking turns using one another as a pillow. Rook Robbins and his father sat in a group with others from their village. Since he'd nearly gotten the royals killed a year earlier, seeing them filled Rook with unbearable guilt. He excused himself from the group, and he took a walk through the tunnels to be alone. The rescue party's entrance caused quite the commotion. Everyone was so happy to see the royal families alive that the mine vibrated with emotional cheers. The refugees surrounded the carriage and welcomed their leaders to the only sanctuary left in the fairy tale world. "Thank heavens you're all right," Hageta said. "All our prayers have been answered," Firetuck said, and Jack climbed down from Buckle and carefully helped Goldilocks off of Porridge, an act that became increasingly difficult as Goldilocks' pregnant belly grew every day. It was only a matter of time before they welcomed their child into the world. They only wished that it was a better world that awaited them. Robin Hood and the merry men eagerly helped the queens down from the carriage, kissing their hands as they did so, which greatly annoyed their husbands. "Where are we?" Sleeping Beauty asked. "We're in an abandoned dwarf mine in the west hills of the dwarf forest," Goldilocks said. "It's not the extravagance you're used to, but we will be safe here. Very few people know that it exists, and it's miles from the parts of the woods being burned down." "We were taking shelter in a small cave in the northern mountains, but as you can see, our numbers have grown," Jack said. "Where are all these people and creatures even from?" King Chase asked. "All over the kingdoms," Goldilocks said. "There are just a few who managed to escape the masked men's army, just like you. They lost everything they had." The royals were very sympathetic to the people around them, but clearly had hesitation about sharing the mine and with the creatures from the forest. "I assure you, everyone and everything in this mine is safe," Sir Lambton said. "We're all united by the same enemy, and so we must stay if we want to reclaim our world." The royal families looked amongst themselves and nodded. "You won't find any objection from us," Empress Elvina said on behalf of the royals. "We need to put aside our differences from the past, otherwise there'll be no hope for the future." Since the elves had a long history of being ostracized by other kingdoms, the Empress's words spoke volumes. They had already lost so much that unity was the one thing they could not afford to lose next. "And where are all the fairies?" Rapunzel asked. "In hiding, hopefully," Goldilocks said. "Is it true that the fairy council was turned to stone?" Trollbella asked. "We don't know," Jack said with a long sigh. "Shortly after the kingdoms were attacked, Alex and Connor went to the fairy kingdom to find the council, but they never came back." Everyone in the mine looked to the ground with worried eyes and a heavy heart. This was the most distressing news of all. Without the fairy council or the Bailey twins, how would they ever defeat the masked man and his literary army? The future looked even bleaker than it had before. "Alex was right," Cinderella said. "The fairy council should have listened to her. Had they gone after the masked man like she requested, none of this ever would have happened." "What about Charlie or that monster who took him?" King Chandler asked. "Has anyone tracked down their whereabouts?" All the refugees turned to Red, but the queen remained silent. She didn't have the strength to relive it. "Red and the Lost Boys found him in Marina's cottage," Goldilocks said. "The witches imprisoned him inside a magic mirror. They also found the missing children from the Corner Kingdom and the Charming Kingdom, and they're under some sort of spell. It's draining their youth." With everything else that had happened, the royals almost forgot about the missing children. "Can we plan a rescue for them too?" Rapunzel asked. "The children have been cursed with very dark magic," Hageta explained. "Moving them from their beds may take away their life source completely." "But what about Charlie?" King Chandler asked. "How do we get him out of the mirror?" "We can't," Red said weakly. "Once you're imprisoned in a magic mirror, it's nearly impossible to be freed. It takes powerful magic to put someone inside a mirror, but even more powerful magic to get them out." "She's right," Snow White said. "My stepmother spent her whole life trying to free the man from her mirror. She was determined and capable as anyone, and she needed the wishing spell to do it." The Charming brothers didn't want to believe it, but there was no escaping the truth. There wasn't a silver lining in sight for any of their worries. "They're no longer missing if we know their location," Cinderella said. "We must find comfort where we can, otherwise we'll worry ourselves to death. God willing, the children and Charlie will be among the many things we salvage in the months ahead." "Yes, but how do we begin salvaging anything?" Sir William asked. "Have we ever faced a threat with such disadvantage?" It seemed that every question was only followed with more terrible news, so everyone in the mine went silent. No one wanted to accept defeat, but the little hope surviving in their hearts was dying fast. If something didn't happen soon, the fairy tale world as they knew it would be gone forever. The tense silence was broken by the traveling tradesman who had been biting his tongue up to this moment. Ahem, ahem, he coughed, and all the refugees in the mine rolled their eyes at the old geezer. Clearly he was very unpopular among the survivors. When no one gave him the floor, the old man tried to get their attention again. Ahem, he said, coughed even louder. Hagetta was the only one with enough patience to acknowledge him. Yes, what is it, old man? She asked. May I offer a suggestion? The traveling tradesman asked. His question was immediately followed by a chorus of loud sighs. Every time the tradesman opened his mouth, it only filled their heads with nonsense. But to be fair to the old man, Jack raised his hand and silenced the exasperated crowd. Unless someone else has a suggestion to share, there's really no point in discrediting his, Jack said. And Red grunted dramatically. Everyone cover your ears, she said. I've heard that crazy is contagious in small quarters. Despite the rudeness he received from his peers, the traveling tradesman went to the center of the mine so that everyone could see him as he offered his suggestion. Perhaps we're all looking at the situation from the wrong perspective, he said. In times as troubling as these, let's not torture ourselves further with questions we don't have answers to. Let's ask the rocks. He proposed this idea as if everyone was supposed to know exactly what he was talking about. Ask the rocks, Robin Hood said. Merry men, I believe this strange old man is off his rocker. Robin Hood laughed wildly at his own joke, but no one joined him. The tradesman was frustrated that he had to explain himself. Not just any rocks, he said. In my possession, I happen to have precious premonition stones that are directly connected to the will of the fates. The wacky old man reached for his stones, but they were missing from his belt. He spun around in a circle to look for them all over the ground where he might have dropped them. Where on earth are my precious stones? He demanded. Has anyone seen them? They were in a skunk-skin sack. All 5 of the lost boys turned bright red. Oops, Toodles said. We might have used those during the rescue. You did what? The tradesman yelled. Those rocks are thousands of years old. They're meant for predicting the future, not slingshots. Sorry, you didn't mean to, Toodles said. They didn't look like special rocks to us, Curly said. You really shouldn't leave stones lying around, Nibs added. Yeah, there are kids in here, the twins said. And the tradesman sat on the ground and wrapped his arms around his head. Now what am I supposed to use to predict the wills of the fates, he asked. And the lost boys checked their pockets. Will marbles work? Toodles asked. And the traveling tradesman let out a deep and apprehensive sigh. Very well, hand them over. Toodles poured a small bag of colorful marbles into the tradesman's shaky hands. He closed his eyes, rubbed the marbles together, and whispered strange gibberish to them. Finally, he threw them onto the ground in front of him and carefully watched them bounce and roll into one another. Interesting, he said. Very interesting. The tradesman hemmed and hawed as if the marbles were speaking in a language only he understood. It was much more of an ordeal than the refugees were expecting. Curiosity got the best of them, and they formed a circle around him. Well, what are the marbles saying? Jack asked. Don't be ridiculous. Marbles don't speak, the tradesman said. They simply move as the fates command. You see this gray one, dreary, dull, stuck in the dirt? That represents us. See the blue one, the pink one, moving together in perfect unison away from the gray? That must represent the twins. Fear not, the Baileys are alive. A few of the refugees cheered, but quickly stopped when they remembered the information was coming from an old geezer who was talking to marbles. But where are they? Jack asked. Oh, they're far away from us now, likely in the other world. But wait. All the refugees leaned a little closer. Crazy or not, this was still the most entertaining thing they'd seen in weeks. See how the blue and pink ones rolled toward the silver, yellow, and purple and red? Now watch, the pink and blue are rolling back to the gray with the silver, yellow, purple, and red. Look at all the marbles. They knocked the gray out of the way. It's a miracle. The tradesman leapt to his feet and threw his hands into the air in celebration. The refugees were on pins and needles waiting for the message to be interpreted. Even if the news was not as great as it appeared, the tradesman's enthusiasm was infectious. They hoped that this wasn't the crazy thing that Red was talking about. Okay, what does it all mean? Jack asked. It means the twins have traveled to places far, far away, but will return and help save our world, the tradesman said. But this will happen if, and only if, yes? Worlds collide, the tradesman said with large, energetic eyes. No one had a clue what the old man was talking about, but they were all so desperate for something positive, they took it as a good sign. Red, on the other hand, was not as enthusiastic. All I see is an old man who's lost his marbles, she said. And the other refugees slowly came to their senses too. Just because this was the closest thing to good news that they had received didn't make it credible. I agree with the old man, Goldilocks announced. It doesn't matter what the marbles say or don't say. The Bailey twins have never let us down before. Just because we haven't heard from them yet doesn't mean that we should give up on them. We have to have faith that they'll return to help. Okay, but what do we do in the meantime? Red asked. We wait, Goldilocks said. It's all we can do. Well then. Hey. Hey, Mommy is just about to look and see how long the next chapter is. Hold on. That chapter was really long. The next chapter is pretty short, actually. But I'm going to grab milk real quick because she didn't drink very much before the live. I'm going to see if she'll take a sip of it real quick. Hold on. Do you want a little bit of milk? You want a little bit of milk? What do you think? Milkies? Oh, big bird. You don't want it? Oh yeah, yummy, huh? That's so good. Yeah. Is that so yummy? So yummy. Okay. You wanna drink it? Yeah. What did I miss? Missed something. She is the cutest baby, it's true. Cutest baby in the world. Can you look over here and drink your milkies? No, you don't want more milkies? It's so yummy. Actually, I don't know if that's true. It's probably not, but whatever. Look at Mommy. Can you drink this, please? You're gonna feel better if you do. No? You're all done? Should we go to the playpen and read a little bit more? Yeah? You wanna go to the playpen and read a little bit more? Okay. Right, yeah, she really wants to see who I'm talking to, it's true. Okay, let's put the milk away and we'll go to the playpen. Okay. Okay. Do you want to go in here? Yeah? Ready? Woo! There you go, sweetheart. Okay, I'm just gonna grab my coffee and I'm coming too, okay? Okay. Mommy's coming. Don't worry. Sorry about all the junk up there. In 3, 2, woo! It took that long, Mary? That's crazy. Wow. It's Mommy's coffee, huh? Okay. Should we keep reading? Yeah? Will you upload the ending of the last book? I have. It's already uploaded, Tiffany. Yeah, it's already uploaded. I uploaded it yesterday. Yes. Samantha's diaper. Yes, I need to put it on him. I know, sweetheart. Let's keep going. Yeah, everything is uploaded, Tiffany. I uploaded the prologue yesterday also. Yes. Okay. Do you want to sit down with this? Can you sit? Where's the... Actually, I have no idea where the circle is. Where's the orange circle, honey? Can you find the orange circle? Okay, listen to the beginning of this one, but not the end. It's in a separate thing. I made them separate so that anyone who wanted to listen to them separately could. Okay, let's read chapter 2. Chapter 2 is called Grounded. Alex and Connor left their 6th grade classroom and found the neighborhood park where they could rest and form the next phase of their plan. It was an hour or so... Really? Are you my beautiful angel? You're so smiley. Are you in a good mood? Yeah. It was an hour or so before sunrise, and the night sky was lightening with every passing minute. Everything was so quiet and peaceful that it was difficult to imagine
I know, that's right. Do you want to do the reading? Here. You want to read about Poppy? There you go. Everything was so quiet and peaceful, it was difficult to imagine how chaotic life was back in the fairy tale world and how awful things their friends might be enduring. The closer it came to sunrise, the more people drove past the park on their way to their early work commutes. Naturally, Alex had seen this many times before, but every car she saw gave her a small thrill. Here you go, sweetheart. It had been a long time since she'd been back to the other world, and it wasn't until this moment that she realized how much she missed it. Well, it's nice to see how little things have changed, Alex said. The fairy tale world changes so much that I've never had a moment to even catch my breath. Connor was only half listening. He flipped through the pages of his short stories and separated them into 4 stacks on the ground. Great! They're all here. Excuse her, she shouldn't have to speak over you. Yeah, right. Yeah, I should just stop. That's right, Becca. He said, Starbordia, Galaxy Queen, the Ziblings, and the Adventures of Blimp Boy. Those are the stories with the characters that can help us. We'll use the potion to travel into the stories, find the heroes, and take them back to the fairy tale world to help us against our uncle's army. Alex had only agreed to her brother's plan because their options were so limited. The closer they got to actually going through with it, the more doubtful she became. It was one thing to travel into the books of classic literature, but an entirely different endeavor to go into short stories written by her brother. Your stories sound more elaborate than I was expecting, Alex said. I thought you wrote about our experiences in the fairy tale world and just changed the names. Well, that's how it started, Connor said. But after I got the hang of it, that's right. After I got the hang of it, I might have exaggerated things just like a little bit and taken some liberties. All writers do, I think. Is that Dada? Could that be Dada? Oh, don't look so concerned, honey, just because you can't see him. He's right there. She heard the noise and she looks wildly concerned right now. You should come show her your face. Oh no, it's okay, honey. No, don't be scared.
Oh, what's wrong?
It's okay, sweetheart.
Why are we concerned?
I don't know, she looked really sad, like she was gonna cry.
Hey.
There he is. See, it's just Dada. No problem. It was just Dada all along.
Not scared.
No scary. It was just Dada.
Come here, my love.
She just heard the noise and she looked up at me like, I was like, girl, it's okay.
Yeah, my love. Oh.
She couldn't see him from where we are because of the counter.
Daddy T.
Daddy T.
Colfer.
Liberties? Alex asked fearfully. Connor, what exactly are we getting ourselves into? And Connor waved that off like it wasn't a big deal. Relax. There's nothing more dangerous than what we've already been through, he said. Starbordia is a pirate adventure. Galaxy Queen is about space exploration. The Ziblings are a group of superheroes. And the Adventures of Blimp Boy follows a young archaeologist. Listen, it'll be a piece of cake. The summaries didn't comfort his sister. The twins were lucky that they had survived their adventures over the years, and if his stories were based on those experiences, Alex wasn't exactly eager to relieve any of them, especially if they'd been exaggerated by her brother's warped imagination. Are you sure this is going to work? Alex asked. I don't really mean to sound like a snob, but maybe we should stick to, published stories? Stop worrying, Connor said. There are no evil enchantresses, no dragons, no French soldiers, no literary armies. All my characters are based on the people that we know and love. They have the same bravery, intelligence, and compassion as our friends. They're gonna want to help us. We'll be in and out before the antagonists even show up. But what are we gonna do with your characters after we bring them out? Alex asked. Where are we even gonna keep them? Connor had been so worried about finding his stories that he hadn't really thought about what they would do after they found them. Good point, he said. Well, we need a place that they can stay while we recruit the characters from the other stories. Then we're also going to need someone to keep an eye on them so they don't wander off. Someone that we trust completely who won't totally freak out about what we're doing. The twins thought about the perfect place and the perfect person for the job, but the candidates were few and far between. It had to be someone from the other world who already knew about the fairy tale world, someone who had seen magic before and wouldn't be alarmed by it. The person had to be a responsible enough person to supervise several fictional characters and have enough space to house them. Yeah, 100%, Amanda, 100%. Alex and Connor came to the same conclusion at the exact same time. They looked at each other, and they knew what each other were thinking, the same thing. There was only one person who was qualified for the task. Mom, the twins said in unison. The resolution was immediately followed by an avalanche of guilt. I can't remember the last time I talked to Mom, Alex said. Honestly, neither can I, Connor said. She's probably worried sick. We've been so busy trying to save the fairy tale world that we never had a chance to call home and check in, Alex said. We're good people, but we're really terrible children, Connor said. Regardless of whether she wants to help us or not, we really need to visit her so that she knows we're alive, Alex said. Let's just hope she cooperates?
The twins were in complete agreement. Connor gathered his stories and they headed out of the park. Alex followed her brother but was confused by the direction he was walking in. Where are you going? She asked him. Home, he said. But home is that way, she said. No, home used to be that way, he said. Mom and I moved in with Bob after they got married, remember? Alex's guilt was doubled by another avalanche. She was so out of the loop she didn't even know where her own family lived anymore. Whenever she thought about her mom and stepdad in the other world, she always imagined them living in the rental house they had moved into when her and Connor's dad passed away. Perhaps the other world had changed more than she thought. I am the worst daughter in the whole world, she said. This isn't going to be a fun visit, is it? Nope, Connor said. Mom's going to be pretty upset when she sees us, and honestly, I won't blame her. They reached the edge of the park, and they came to a stop. Aren't you forgetting something else? Oh, sorry, wrong voice. Aren't you forgetting something else? He asked. What? Alex asked. Connor looked his sister up and down like it was obvious. Alex, you're dressed like the Tooth Fairy, he said. You can't just go walking around the suburbs like that. Oh, she said. Right, 1 second. Let's see, I'm actually going to move the... Yeah, that should be okay. Boop, boop, boop. Trying to expose themselves. Let's see. All right. I forgot how comfortable otherworld clothes are, she said as she spun and turned back into t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. They walked through the neighborhood streets and found Sycamore Drive. By now the sun had risen and Alex could see all the spacious homes on the street. She was delighted that her mom and Bob lived in such a lovely neighborhood. Alex knew which house was theirs before Connor even pointed it out. The flower beds were covered with their mom's favorite roses. Hopefully they're going to be home, Connor said. They're usually starting a day shift or ending a night shift right around this time. The twins walked up the curved path and knocked on the door. A few moments later, their stepdad answered. Bob was still in his pajamas and on his first cup of coffee. His eyes were puffy like he had just woken up. The doctor did a double take when he saw Alex and Connor standing behind the door. Good morning, Bob, Alex said cheerfully. Nice to see you again. Bob rubbed his eyes and scratched his head. He wasn't convinced that he was awake yet. Hi? He said. Oh, well, this is a surprise. Is Mom home? Connor asked, because we have to talk to her. Yeah, she's upstairs getting ready for work, but boy, she's going to be glad to see you guys. Charlotte, we have visitors, he called into the house. The twins heard a window open above the porch, and they looked up and saw Charlotte looking down from the second story. She was already dressed in her blue work scrubs. Her face had many expressions at once: shock that she was looking at her children, relief that they were all right, joy that they had finally come home, but it settled on anger. Hi, Mom, the twins said apologetically. Inside, now, Charlotte said and slammed the window. Connor gulped. We are off to a good start. Before they knew it, Alex and Connor were seated on the living room sofa and their mother was furiously pacing in front of them. She was so upset that she couldn't form the words to scold them. Bob sat in the armchair beside the twins. He peered cautiously over his coffee, afraid for their safety. This new house is really nice, Alex said. I really like how you did... Quiet, Charlotte said. Do either of you have any idea what you put me through? I have been so worried that I haven't slept in months. We're really sorry, Mom, Connor said. We didn't mean to worry. Less talking, more listening, she said. Do you know what it's like to go to the grocery store and be asked how are your children doing and have absolutely no clue yourself? Do you know what it's like to tell a school district, my children have transferred schools with no proof of a transfer? Do you know what it's like to hear nothing from your children for weeks at a time except, sorry, we didn't call you, Mom, we had to fight a dragon. Or, gotta go, Mom, the army's invading the castle. Charlotte glared at her children as if she were waiting for an answer, but the twins stayed silent. They didn't know if they were allowed to speak or if she was pausing for dramatic effect. For your sake, I hope your future children show you more respect and courtesy than mine have shown me, Charlotte went on, because not knowing if your children are dead or alive in another dimension is the worst feeling that anyone could ever have in this world. It's worse than fighting the Enchantress, it's worse than slaying dragons, and it's worse than battling armies. I can promise you that. Tears came to Charlotte's eyes, and she looked away from the twins to wipe them with a tissue. The guilt the twins had felt before was nothing compared to the guilt that they felt now. It tightened in their stomachs and their chests so much that they thought their bodies might implode. Mom...
This woman literally lied to these kids about their whole being. Like, who their grandma was and...
Well, that's their dad's fault.
Oh.
Their dad was the one connected the fairy tale, and he told her not to tell them. Yeah, she just went like this. She went, whoosh. You can put her in here if you need to. I'm almost done with this chapter. Mom, we weren't neglecting you on purpose, Alex said. We'd like to explain if you would just give us a chance. Something really terrible has happened and we need your... I don't care what has happened, Charlotte said. There will always be another crisis in the fairy tale world for you to tend to. Your family should come first. That's what your father and I raised you to believe, or at least I thought so. You did, and we do, Connor said, but so many people's lives are in danger. Yeah, what about your lives? Charlotte asked. Since you were 13 years old, you've been busy saving other people and you have never taken care of yourselves. Do either of you even know what today is? Alex and Connor looked at each other, but neither of them knew what she was referring to. They quickly went through a mental list of possible holidays, special occasions that it could be, but they were both blanking. Is it yours and Bob's anniversary? Connor asked, and Charlotte looked even more heartbroken than ever. No, today is your 15th birthday, she said. The twins were shocked. How could they not have known that it was their birthday? Suddenly, everything that Charlotte said made perfect sense. They were so occupied with saving other people that they were missing out on their own lives. Charlotte glanced at her watch and then grabbed her purse and car keys off the rack by the front door. I have to go to work, she said. Both of you are grounded. Connor glanced at Alex. Wait, can she still do that? He asked. Oh, you bet I can, Charlotte said. I want both of you to go upstairs to your bedrooms and you stay there until I get home. Do I even have a bedroom here? Alex asked. Charlotte was offended that she had to ask. Of course you do, she said. And when I get back, we're going to go out for a nice family dinner and we're going to celebrate your birthday. Mom, that sounds nice, but we are really pressed for time, Alex said. Alexandra Bailey, this is the least that you could do for me, Charlotte said. After we have a nice family dinner and discuss normal family things, we can talk about what you need help with, but only after. Connor, please show your sister to her bedroom. Charlotte left for work, leaving her children in very uncomfortable silence. They were feeling so many things: guilt, shame, disappointment, anxiety. They didn't know which emotion to settle on. Bob tried to break the tension, but he didn't even know what to feel. So, Bob said, happy birthday? What's the deal with birthdays? All right. Well, that was a great chapter. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's pretty funny.
I can't believe she didn't take off the day from work.
Well, they were gone, so I don't know what would the point be.
They were there. That's
Well,
it.
she didn't know that they were going to be there.
I thought the work hadn't started yet.
Yeah, but you can't just oh, you mean call in and just be like, never mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well,
I don't know what she does for a living.
she is a nurse at a children's hospital.
No, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. All right, so we're going to go have breakfast, but that was a great start to this new book, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. Maybe we'll see you later for Baby Book Club. Who knows? It'll depend on how naps go, but have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.